Liam, afternoon. Thanks very much for your time. If we start with injuries as usual, what about Ben Chrisene and sort of where he is at the moment?
Yeah, he's still going to be a couple of weeks. So he's minor setback. So disappointing, but it's going to be a couple of weeks.
How did that minor setback happen? Was it just
on the stages he goes through to return? Just start to increase it and had felt it slightly. So unfortunately, it's a small setback for him.
Okay. And what about Lucian Mahovo? Is it a similar situation?
Similar, yeah. He's progressing. He's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I saw the club put out some pictures of a man called Forson back in training, so that's obviously gone to plan.
Yeah, so Forson's trained this week, and it's been a good week. Matthias has built up as well, so to have him a week further along, to have Forson back in and around it, is a big positive.
With Forson, is it seen enough for him to, could he be in the squad this weekend? Or?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, possibly. It's one of those, of course, with the type of injury he's had and how long he's been out, we have to be a little bit sensible. But yeah, he's had a real strong training week. It's been great to have him back out there. His smile he brings, the personality he's got, infectious. Especially, obviously, in a tough period. I think someone that's been out for so long can bring back just a pure appetite to train and love for the game and enthusiasm. So it's been great to have him back around it.
Presumably, it would be difficult for him to start at this stage of his career. Yeah. And what sort of qualities do you think he'll bring you that maybe you've been lacking in his absence on the pitch?
I think if you just look at the positions he takes up, I think how he takes the ball. He's so quick in short distances. The way he changes direction, I think he definitely. And as much as the qualities he brings, and hence he started the first league game I took here. He started it because he's someone that was really looking forward to working with and still am, and I think he brings some real exciting attacking moments, so it'll be good to have him back from that perspective, but also to put competition and to push other people, which, like I said, has been challenging. I think in terms of being able to hold people account to performances, or even during games make changes within the game and raise the level. Having that depth and those options allow us to do that, so it's great to have him back.
Just finally on Elliot Miles, how far away is he?
Close. Expecting him to start training next week, so he's close.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Mark Attanasio, and obviously everyone will know that he's travelled over and spent a couple of days here. What sort of interaction did you have with him over that period?
Yeah, I spent some time with him. We did as a staff, and then I had a meeting with him as well. And just a real good, honest chat. I think it's quite clear how invested he is in the club emotionally, and refreshing. Now he's in it for the short, medium, long term. Which again, I think when you look at other clubs not having that, that stability, that security. I think for people on the outside, it's really important to know that he's driven by the best interests and he wants success. But he also understands in terms of how to get there, of structures, and had some really good, honest chats with him, which was important.
Yeah, I think on Radio Norfolk, he's kind of given you some quite significant backing. Said that your position isn't in contention really at the moment. So this might be the last time for a while that we have to ask you about your future. But does that just make you feel a little bit more secure and kind of clear things up a little bit?
Not massively, because I don't listen to it. The only time I talk and think about it is when you guys ask me. I think my energy. I'm hurting like everybody. I'm frustrated. I'm disappointed. I don't want to be where we're at. I didn't join for that. So mine is then, right, how do we change it? How do we move it forward? How do we get more players back available? How do we increase the competition? How do we refine things as we go along and improve and get better? And that's the biggest bit for me. So that ultimately is where my energy is going at the minute. Like I said, I'm really not happy where we're at. So the only thing I can change is by the work that I do and by creating the right culture for the lads. So to have Mark here to do that, obviously look, it's it's reassuring. It's take it as a real positive. But I'm also quite clear we have to win games. That's what I'm here to do.
I think there are probably a lot of owners at a lot of clubs who kind of barely get involved, and the fact that Mark's over in the States means that you could assume, or he could quite easily do that. But is it quite nice for you as a head coach to know that someone's engaged and wants to be involved in that way?
Yeah, and especially the time we're in, right? I think it's easy for people to come out when things are going well and be the face of it. And I think in a tough period, I think he's to come over here like he has for such a short period and address some of the issues and speak around it so openly and so clearly. I think it's a real strength, and I think that's what we have to have in these moments. We have to have togetherness. We have to have real strength, and we have to keep pushing to change it.
he was quite clear that he didn't want to intervene in your team selection, but he did reference Shane Duffy and kind of a conversation that you'd had about him and the fact that he kind of asked you why he wasn't involved. So I just wondered if you could shed any light on that.
No, I had a real chat. And I'm always conscious, right? I think, when you're in a tough period and you want to come out and be completely honest, I think you can sometimes be seen as, you're making excuses, this is why, but, it's not going right. There'll be some clear, factors to it. I think one thing, I spoke around a lot is taking responsibility, and I think, with leaders, with more, experienced players, they tend to do it. So again, it's just a conversation that we had regarding, players within the group, and, I spoke after the Swansea game around Kenny, right, in terms of, for me, probably best player on the pitch that day, because he was willing to step up and take responsibility and try and change things, and we need more of that. We need more people that are willing to, take that responsibility and step up and lead in high pressure moments. And Shane's been there and done that in his career before. He's extremely vocal, which again I think is something that we need as a group, and we'll have to see.
Does it add any pressure to you to sort of make that selection when ultimately your boss is kind of talking about? No.
Put it out there now, I've never been anywhere and I won't work anywhere where a team gets picked for me. I think that's hugely important. I understand there's certain nuances around it and certain political things, but for me, I couldn't work anywhere. I have to sleep at night and I have to look at myself knowing that if it goes right, it's on me, and if it goes wrong, it's on me in terms of squad selection, team selection on a match day. So I think it's one of those for me. I'll be picking the team I want tomorrow.
Yes, that's fair enough. Obviously, it's Hull tomorrow, so what do you make of that? I know what I'm expecting.
tough game. It's certain things in the Championship defy everything else in football, I think, in terms of when you look at certain trends and habits and bits. But they're well organised. They're tough. They're direct. They attack quickly with quality as well. So they're. You look at where they were at, a year ago to where they're at now and the progress they've made. I think it is. They're a tough side to play against, so we have to make sure that we're ready. They're on a good run of form, but we have to come out and fight tomorrow. We have to show that real passion, that urgency, that desire, that bravery, that aggression. They're where we're at in the minute when you're in a scrap and a fight and your back's against the wall. That's how you get out of it for me. So all our energy has to go into us and making sure that we make it the hardest game possible for Hull.
I think they've done quite well away from home, and if probably you look at those kind of characteristics you spoke about in terms of counter-attacking, defending solidly, obviously with the struggles you've had at home, is that worrying at all, given obviously they're visiting you tomorrow?
I know it's a new game, new opportunity. I think we have to be clear in terms of it. I think it's probably a trend across the league at the minute. The teams that have more possession have found it probably a little bit more difficult, I think, in terms of, well, probably Coventry. I think the rest of the teams, it tends to be the teams with less possession that are doing quite well. So we know they're dangerous on the counter. We know they carry that threat. So it comes down to us being tough mentally to stay focused and not give them anything, and make sure that we go and dictate, and we're smart. We have to manage the game and be smart in those moments.
Given that kind of possession theme, obviously you've spoken quite a lot about the fact you want your team to be proactive, and I think with what Norwich fans want, there is always going to be that pressure to play a kind of positive, proactive style of football. But when you look at that trend, is there any temptation for you just to change it and almost go along with that, because it might give you a better chance?
No, we're talking after 12 games. I think if you probably go across 46, it'll probably work out a little bit different. I think football goes in cycles. None of us are going to reinvent anything that's probably not been seen or done before. So again, I think most games you have to be clear in each areas of the game what it looks like and what you're doing. We've had loads of the ball in the last 5 games, and there's been moments in games where we've created good opportunities. There's been moments where we've been maybe a little passive with the ball. There's been moments where we've given things to the opposition too easily, and they're the bits. Is how in those high pressure situations, how do you take care of the real simple things? How do you make sure that your basics are at a high enough level? How do you make sure when you've got the ball that you're brave enough and don't become passive, that you ask questions by progressing it, by playing in behind, by looking across things in at the box, by taking people on. It's making sure that you don't get lulled into that. They're sitting off, we've got it, and we keep switching it in front of them. You have to keep being brave and asking questions with the ball by being brave and playing forward.
You've spoken quite a lot about how desperate you are to get a first win at Carrow Road, with kind of everything with Mark coming over, with the clarity that's provided on your future, and with a full week to kind of lead up. Does it feel like this is quite a big opportunity to start turning things around?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. We don't want to keep waiting. I think that's the key bit. That's the key bit to the lads for tomorrow. Is we are where we are. The only thing that's going to change that is us. We haven't performed to the level I'd like or got the results definitely that I want at home. So tomorrow's another opportunity, and that's the biggest bit. We don't want to keep saying this. It comes down to actions, and the second that the whistle starts tomorrow, it's on actions. We have to go and grab it and not be fearful of anything. Go and leave everything out there.
I think there's been quite a lot of talk about kind of protest at tomorrow's game, and fans maybe showing their frustration in different ways. So I wondered what your message would be to them if they were, thinking about taking part in that.
Well, I think first and foremost, I get the emotion. I get why people are frustrated. I get why people are angry. I've never hidden away from that. I think I understand it. Everybody has a right to protest in the right way for me. And for me, it's second the whistle starts to the end of the game, give everything for the lads. That for me, if talking, and of course we have to earn the right for that by how we start the game and elements of how we perform. But for me, don't give absolutely everything to the lads, and then at the end, so be it. I think during that 90 minutes, turn up and give absolutely everything, because there's a huge 3 points on the line that they can play a huge part, and we'll need them with us. Much prefer them with us, and like I said, we understand we have to do our bit, but we'd love the fans to turn up and give absolutely everything tomorrow.
Are those protest plans the sort of thing you would talk to your players about? Because obviously, it might be just be aware of this type of thing, or do you just kind of put it in a box and just try and focus on the game? Focus
on the game for me at the minute. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier you've got a kind of full week for the first time in a while to prepare the players, no international break or anything. So has that been nice for you, or would you have preferred another chance to turn things around in another game?
No, the training week's been good, to be fair. I think it's been good to, especially like we said around Forson and Matthias, being able to get them back and get some sessions with a group to strip it right back to basics around duels, around me v you. How do I make sure I come out on top? I think that type of work. I think in terms of revisiting some tactical pieces, and I think it's been a real strong training week. Like I say, most weeks the lads have trained well. The challenge is now, how do you transfer it into a game?
Yeah, I just wanted to finish by asking you about a couple of individuals. One of them is Harry Darling, because it feels like obviously he started the season really well. Do you think you've seen a slight decline from him in his performances?
It's a tough one. I think he came in, he was exceptional when he started. He'll be quite honest himself, I think, in terms of he's not quite sustained that level, which is difficult. But it's the collective, right? I think when you're on a bad run, it's difficult for everybody to sustain a level, and that's why I think sometimes you can take on so much responsibility, and I know Harry's desperate to do that you actually neglect what you need to do individually a little bit, and that's kind of been the key message to a few of the lads, that concentrate on you, get you right first, and then try and affect the people around you. So Harry will, I've got no issues in terms of Harry. He'll be fine.
Yeah, you mentioned that you need people to kind of stay at their level even when results are going badly. Does that kind of feed into the sort of leaders experience element of it, because you want players who've maybe been here before and are able to carry it through, rather than almost going with the negative momentum?
Yeah, definitely that's what I think what crying out for in elements of that, of people playing the game for other people, but almost putting people in slots, keeping people focused, making sure people you see how Kenny play. Kenny forces people to take responsibility. They can't hide because he gives them the ball and he tells them what to do. And that I think it is, you need a few of those to be able to to drive people, to keep people switched on, and that's the challenge of the championship football, when it's so intense. There's so many transitional moments. There's so many challenges that come with it. It's making sure that everybody's quite clear, and the more voices we have, the more people talking on the pitch. That's the bit ultimately the lads, it's really, really difficult for them to hear me during the game. So it's it's that conversation that you need on the pitch, and for me, leaders and characters and personalities need to step up, and that's what being a team is.
Yeah, just finally, I thought I'd ask about Kellen Fisher, because it's probably the longest in a while that he's been without injury, not in the team, not sitting on the bench. So how is he taking that?
Yeah, not happy. I'm sure if you ask him, like any player should be. I think anyone not in the team should be annoyed, frustrated, disappointed, and then it's how do you respond to that? And again, I think that's the challenge, is when you do get opportunity, whether it be every day in training or whether it be in games, to grab it. And that's the message to everybody. Is we can talk around wanting certain things, but you have to deliver, and I think that's the industry that the lads are in and that I'm in.
What is it you want to see more of from Kellen on the pitch to tempt you into starting?
I think it's obviously when you look at it, I always think with some of the younger ones, the second season tends to be a little bit harder. You've had a taste of it, you've kind of got an expectation. You then come back in the second season, and it's more of the norm rather than that. The freshness, the buzz, the excitement. You've overachieved expectation by playing. It's the reality now, and when you look at it, having good competition, I think Stacey's performed to a strong level. So he's competing against someone that's played in the Premier League. It's a real good challenge, and I think for Kell, it's not going and chasing the wow moments, but getting back to what he's really, really good at. In terms of simple things in possession, ball progression. The aggression that I saw him execute last season. I think we're crying out for elements of that. So I think it's doing that from a real controlled, focused place.